Did you ever have that feeling that you are stuck in training, or that you have a behavior in mind but you have no idea to train it, or maybe your horse doesn't listen to the cues as well as you think he should listen? So today I would like to share with you that if you have a system to train your behavior, and if you have a structure in building your training up from scratch to the goal behavior, it will really help you make everything more clear. And clarity in clicker training, clarity and confidence are some of the words that I really use a lot, because you become confident if you get predictable results. If you know before you start that you can do it. And having a structure and a system in training really are important tools that will help you get that. Today I would like to start talking about how you train a behavior with positive reinforcement. It's a little bit different than training a behavior with negative reinforcement. In negative reinforcement, you can start with the command, because the command will be the announcer of the aversive, like pressure release. In positive reinforcement, I call it cue, comes in, you train it at a different part of the training. So let's get started. First, we need to have clarity about what our goal behavior is. If you want to teach the Spanish walk, how many steps would you like your horse to do it? And would you like your horse to do it under saddle, or on the long rein, or at liberty? It's really helpful to think about what it actually is that you would like. Once you have your goal behavior clear, you will make a shaping plan. And a shaping plan is a living document in which you write down all the baby steps that you can think of that your horse needs to know to learn a specific behavior. For instance, in Spanish walk, it's forward movement. It's like the front legs are lifted extra high. So all those things you need to think about. When you write them down, it gives you a lot of clarity, and you can do a little brainstorm session about, can you make this behavior even smaller and even smaller. But it doesn't have to be complete before you start training, but it is a really good start to write things down. Then you have to start practicing, because only in the actual training is where you can get feedback from your horse. In that feedback, your horse is telling you so much about himself, and that's what I love so much about clicker training, because he can tell you his fears, he can tell you if he's frustrated, if he understands what it is that you're asking from him or not. And it's this part that really, the feedback of your horse really helps you enhance and build that bond with your horse. So you will practice each small step that you have written down in your shaping plan. And then the question is, do you get consistent behavior? At first, the answer will be probably always, no, not yet. The not yet part is really important, because it's all part of the learning. So when you don't get enough consistent behavior, you either go back to your shaping plan, and maybe you have to adjust something in your shaping plan, because the feedback of your horse will give you new ideas. And you do that evaluation. I offer training journal, which is really easy to use and takes less than a minute. And the way you evaluate and track your training will help you become better and better. So you either, if you don't get consistent behavior, you go back to your shaping plan, or you will start training the next small step in your training plan. And then until the answer is consistent behavior, and the answer will be yes. So once you have that consistent behavior, then you can start doing other things. For instance, you can change your reinforcement schedule. In the beginning, when you don't have consistent behavior, you can reinforce so many parts that will all lead towards that consistent goal behavior. But once your horse have that consistent behavior, you don't click and treat 100% of the time anymore, because you want to strengthen that behavior, and that's when you get from 100% reinforcement schedule to an intermittent reinforcement schedule. That will make the behavior even stronger. This is also the time that you can add a cue, because you want the behavior trained before you will add a cue. In that way, you will be certain that the cue has no aversive associations. Then it's also time to shift the learning context. Ask that specific behavior that you are still training and that is still new. Ask that especially if you have already added a cue, ask that behavior in a different environment. You might have to lower your criteria temporarily, because now the environment is different. Now you are asking, for instance, a Spanish walk, not in the round pen where you start training it, but in the outdoor arena or in the indoor arena or somewhere else. So every time you shift the context, you ask the same behavior in a different environment under different circumstances. It's called a context shift. You temporarily lower your expectations and criteria, and you start where the horse is still successful, and that's where you build it. So this is where you build generalization in a behavior, so that you can ask Spanish walk whether there's an audience or not, whether it's raining or sun is shining. And this is how the horse also starts paying more and more attention to your cue, because the cue is the information that he's getting about potentially getting reinforced for it, and not as much as the environment giving him that information about the behavior he's most successful to do. This is also the part, especially once you have that behavior on cue, that you have to remember to fade out your training tools. For instance, I used a pool noodle as a knee target, so the pool noodle also became a training cue. Whenever she saw the pool noodle, because that was the only behavior I trained in that moment, Kira thought Spanish walk. But I don't want the pool noodle to become the cue, and I also don't want the pool noodle to become my crutch, because otherwise you can never ask your horse to do the Spanish walk, because the pool noodle will be the cue. So in order to prevent that your training tools become your crutches and your cues, you will have to take into account in training that you have to fade them out. Also, you don't want to keep clicking for learned behaviors already. So you're fading out your clicks, your targets, your other training tools, also your treats. That's part of changing your reinforcement schedule. You don't have to fade out all the reinforcements, of course, because in order to keep a behavior strong, you have to reinforce it. It doesn't mean that you necessarily reinforce that behavior with a treat. You can, for instance, train that behavior and put that behavior in a behavior sequence. So you get more behavior, more motivation of the horse, and you have to use less treats. So it's very convenient. So riding an hour doesn't mean necessarily that you need to take a really large treat bag with you, because you have to carry like 2 kilograms of treats. you can just use less treats but still reinforce that behavior without creating frustration. Another thing that you can do after you get consistent behavior is building on duration. If your behavior doesn't look like the goal behavior and you start training duration, you are training the wrong behavior, or the not desired behavior. And then also, this is how you create a solid behavior, and then you can also build on the quality of that behavior. And that is really where you pinpoint the smallest thing and a little bit more, and really going for the quality. So this is how I train behavior with positive reinforcement. I teach this in the Confident Clicker Training course that you can buy on clickertraining.ca on my website. And if you would love to have some coaching with it, I would love to invite you to join the academy. Thank you very much. Happy horse training. You are the trainer. You can do this.